Well, hello everyone. We are once again broadcasting from HITEC 2022 in Orlando. We're so excited to be here. Stephanie couldn't join me right now, and I am sitting here with Parminder Batra. Parminder is an amazing resource in our industry, and she will tell us a little bit about her organization and how it is that you are solving problems out there and keeping the world safe. So, Parminder, take it away. Tell us a little bit about you, your story of how you created this amazing product, and then take us through memory lane.
Oh my gosh. Actually, high tech brings back memories. So I'm Parminder Batra, CEO of TraknProtect. And we started in hospitality around, I want to say, 6 years ago or so. And we started with Hyatt Hotels. And we're fundamentally an IoT platform company. So what we started with doing was, we were building a product for moms to know what they had in their homes and where it was. And so I started with a personal issue, like with my kids. I was just like, there's all these apps that do all these things, but isn't there an app that tracks your crap? And so my kids and I kind of went on this search to look for things, and turned out there wasn't anything. So we ended up, a friend of mine convinced me that we should build it. So started on this journey, entrepreneurial journey for the first time in my life to build something. And as we started to do that, at Hyatt Hotels, we had the opportunity to get in front of them. And I thought, yeah, this would be something great for your guests so that they leave with what they came with. And that was sort of the idea that we wanted to give them. And they said, that's great. We like that. But let's go back to being the mom. And I thought, okay. They said, can you help us find our stuff? And I thought, wait, is that a problem? They said, yes. Luggage carts, rollaway beds, cribs, microwaves, fridges, like things get lost in a hotel. And I thought, tell me more. So we started building the product. We actually became an asset tracking solution. And then they said, well, can you build room tray tracking for when people push their room trays out of the room? And, so you don't have smelly hallways and so on. So we did that. Then I remember talking to a couple of GMs, and they said, these vendors come on site and we lose track of them. We give them their visitor badge and they're supposed to be on floor 4, but we find them on floor 8, or are they doing what they're supposed to do?
So from tracking assets to tracking vendors.
Yeah. And that's how we got into safety, because it was a safety concern.
Right.
And that actually led to, then by then, these laws were coming down to have staff safety was a priority and to have safety buttons in hotels. So I was asked if I could do that. And I said, let me do some research. So candidly, initially I said, no, that's liability. And they said, well, can you do some research? So I went to New York, went to Seattle, researched what people were doing. And I found we could do what others were doing and do it better with lighter technology, and do it so that it's less maintenance for hotels. And the big thing I learned from the users was they wanted it to be easy to use. They wanted to press the button and get help, not have complicated, like big buttons that they had to do multiple things with and jump up and down 5 times and entry. They just said, can I just press it? And the hoteliers wanted something that was just easy to deploy and easy to maintain. They wanted it like, listen, I don't want to go around checking batteries every 3 to 6 months. I don't have time for that. I don't have people for that. I just want to plug it in and go. And the system should tell me that if something's up, it should alert me, not me have to go around and look for it. And I want my people to use it. I don't want training to be hard. And
Right, yes.
Training's an issue. So they're like, I just want to be able to say, here, press it, and we will help you. Like, that's how easy the training needs to be. So we said we could do that, and we could do it at a fraction of the cost. So we did. We built it, and within first 6 months, we had 42% of the Chicago market, and it's been a journey. And so through it, Michelle, I have to tell you, we've become passionate about workplace safety, passionate about safety in hotels generally. So whether it's guests, employees, unregistered guests like human trafficking survivors, being able to detect that and being on a mission to help eradicate human trafficking in hotels. So it's just been such a growing time. And if you think about it, it was only 4 years ago that we first came to HITEC. 5 years ago was the first time, and then 4 years ago we were here. 3 years ago we had our booth, and we won Entrepreneur 20X, and we've just been growing, and it's been exciting.
What an incredible journey, right? I love the fact that you solve that big problem of not knowing where things are to begin with. So at least coming from the housekeeping background, like knowing where your crates, knowing where everything is,
Right.
that's just a win right there. But then
And delivering it quickly, right, to the
Right?
guests, so they don't have to call again and again and say, "I ordered a crib an hour ago. Where is it?
So
My
it's
baby's crying."
it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
Front desk you're reducing the amount of calls into the front
Yes.
desk because now you are delivering things faster. The guest
Yep.
experience improves. Your teams know where things are, so they're not wandering around trying to find things. So
Exactly.
this is fabulous, and it's interesting to see the journey of how you move from having that product, which by the way, I love the story, the fact that you started off with a mom idea, right? Being a mom and how of three, and then everyone is like, hey, have you seen this, or where do I find that?
Yes.
And we typically try to know where everything is, but at least we think of, oh, this is the last place where I saw it.
Yeah.
I love the story behind it, but then what an incredible journey to have the creativity to think outside the box and say, what else can my technology do, right? So that's just, it's amazing. And then to be able to use that technology in keeping our guests safe, in knowing where our vendors are, making sure that they have access to specific areas and not the
Yes.
entirety of our properties. But then on the other hand, for team members to feel like your brand recognizes that your life is so important, right? Your well-being is so important. And I always talk about creating those cultures of care. And I think this is one of those products where you are adding value to the concept of creating the culture of care.
Absolutely. And especially now with tight labor market, we hear about things, and I'll tell you, one of the things that I see is that how can you let people know that why would someone want to join your team? Think about that. And people would want to join your team because they have the opportunity to pick any company to work for, right? So why would they pick this company? Well, they would pick this company because they feel invested. They look at the colleagues, they look at other people that are working there that feel taken care of, and they want to be part of that culture. And so it's with the current labor market, it's one of those things where, am I going to be taken care of? Is my safety a concern? Am I a priority for this company? And safety buttons do that because they're simply the right thing to do when people work alone. And given the current climate that we have, just generally speaking, at a very macro level, we hear about all these instances. And for people to feel like I can call for help at the push of a button, it makes them feel better. So we did a survey of our GMs, and we said, tell us the good, the bad, the ugly.
Right.
And one of the GMs I remember wrote, basically, she said, our associates feel really good about the fact that they have these buttons and they can call for help and they know will come. It gives them a peace of mind that we knew was important. I don't think we really understood how important, because they're actually more relaxed when they work alone now, even in the hallway when they see a guest. They're more relaxed, and they say they're more relaxed because they know they can push the button.
Yeah, absolutely. It has to be a mindset shift from the
Yeah.
moment you start carrying one of those, because now you feel like there's someone watching over you.
You feel empowered,
Absolutely.
right? Like if something goes wrong, I can call someone and all I have to do is press a button. I don't have to reach for the phone. I don't have to, and I can press it as I'm running. I can press it, and somebody will come where I am. Even if I've moved, they'll come find me there. It is empowering to them to know that they have access to this.
This is wonderful. This is so great. So, Parminder, tell me, as you are creating this amazing product, you go through understanding what those problems are that you solve. And in doing so, I'm sure you have one or two WTF, walk the floors type of moments or stories that you can share with us. And perhaps it has to do with implementation, or perhaps it has to do with, when you're pushing vendors to start using something like this. So is there a story you can think of that you can share with us?
There's a few stories come to mind. So when we were talking earlier about asset tracking, and you mentioned something, it was I remember one of the porters one time when we did the implementation at one of the hotels, and I went in to talk to them and said, how did it go? And tell me what you like about this. Tell me what you're doing. And I actually recorded this because this individual, Chris was his name, and he basically said, Parminder, I get more tips now. I went, how? What did we do that? And he said, because I can deliver the stuff faster, guests are
Right.
happier, and they tip me. I'm making more in tips than I did before we had the solution. And I thought, isn't that interesting? That, we're increasing productivity, but in some ways we're actually contributing to, in whatever small way, but we're contributing to an associate getting more tips. And they're happier then, right? Because now they're more engaged because they're like, hey, I can make more money on this.
Of course.
So I thought that was one of the moments that comes to my mind from an asset tracking perspective. And then from a safety perspective, I remember one time one of our trainers couldn't make it to a training last minute, So I went in to train the housekeepers, and I said, okay, this is how we do it. And I said, tell me about a situation. She said, oh my gosh, just this morning, I was going up the elevator. I walked out. I pushed my cart out. I saw there was 2 doors down. There was someone walking out, nude. They were walking towards me, and I was able to pull my cart back, push the button, and I mean, they were going to get into the elevator, and I was able to push the button, and I went to another floor, and the director of security found me on that floor, and they made sure I was okay. And they said, just knowing I could do that was so helpful. And I thought, it would never occur to me that, and according to this person, they're like, do you know how often that happens? And I was like, no, I don't. And I'm not sure yes, I'm curious, but that to me is so unacceptable that you have to be subjected to that so often.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
we don't go into our office and have to deal with those situations. We go to work daily. We don't show up for that. So why does this happen in hotels?
So this is definitely one of those pieces of technology that we're starting to see where it truly enhances the employee benefit piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how many times in on the recruiting side, when we talk about benefits to a candidate, it's typically related to what we know, which is, the health insurance or all those things, but how technology can add that piece of value that we should be sharing with the new hires or with the potential candidates, especially nowadays where we're in this crazy labor crisis.
Well, with the current labor crisis, think about it the other way. Now, what you've got is the hotels haven't shrunk, right? I mean, if you had a 100-room hotel, you still have a 100-room hotel. People are now occupancies up. You're still serving those 100 rooms, but now you're employees wise, you actually have fewer employees. So whereas you might have had 2 or 3 employees per floor, so if something happened, they could yell, okay, it might not be the most perfect solution, but at least someone was around. Now you may only have 1 person per floor. And who's to say they're going to be able to yell? And there's so many doors, so many, we're in the heart of a building. So it's even more important now with the tight labor market to show not just that you care, but to have that security, the sense of security, because people are more likely to be working alone. And I'll say this, so I have great GMs that I work with in Chicago, and given the tight labor market, they've actually called me and said, Parminder, we're kind of seeing some funky things happen in the city. There's different things happening. Can we provide these safety buttons? Could you give us the quote? We want to increase it to our bellmen, our porters, our accounting staff that's on staff that comes in, our night auditors. we want to make sure everybody feels safe, because there is, chances are they might be working alone in an office and someone else is somewhere else.
Right. Or
We want to make sure
a very different shift.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's not just that they're in guest rooms alone, but they might be in normally a public area, but they could be alone in that area right now.
Right.
And we just want to make sure they're protected. And I think that is so wonderful to hear, because employees are asking for it and saying, you know what you did with the housekeepers? Can we get that? And for someone to step in and say, yes, we feel that and we want to protect you, I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And we're going to see more of that, because that's where it's going, is that, and one of the questions you asked earlier is what are the trends? What we're going to see is that this tight labor force market, it's not going to resolve itself overnight. We're not going to suddenly get thousands and millions of workers.
Absolutely.
In the workplace,
I mean,
right?
we've lived through that for years on end in
Right.
destination areas.
Exactly.
So this is no different. It's just a little worse.
Right. Exactly. So what's the way that hotels and others in this economy are going to survive? Well, it's how do you leverage technology to be more efficient? So IoT technology becomes important, and knowing where everything is, so people aren't wandering, and you're able to, optimize their time when they're on staff. Then the other thing is protecting them. And then the other trend is sort of being able to provide them with actionable insights and how they go about their day to day. So being able to take that data and be able to help them plan out their days, that's going to be the trend, is what are they doing next? And so not having people figure out that, okay, I've got a checklist to go through, but sort of like, how can we help them have a smarter to-do list on a day-to-day
work more
basis.
efficiently. Absolutely. Right. So since we're talking about the future and trends, what have you seen on the floor here this week that you can take back and say, wow, this was amazing. I can't believe, someone finally came up with a solution.
So, I've been walking around, and I have to be honest, I haven't been able to get to a lot of the booths. We've been really busy with our booths, so it's been great. But a couple of the technologies that I'm hearing about are just for me, for example, when I was at Barbados last year, and I was like, I wanted to order right from the beach, and I couldn't. So someone was mentioning a technology to me where now they're able to solve that, where you could be sitting by the beach and still order, room service, so to speak, or order food and beverage and have it charged the room, because they're not limited by technology,
right?
Outdoor technology. I think that to me is really interesting from a guest perspective, because I'd love to be able to do that. I don't like to leave my beach chair. Generally it's just looking at how the smart city aspect is coming to life, right? On resort campuses. We're so used to seeing dead spots and stuff. So seeing technology providers sort of really take that to heart and provide, whether it's smart Wi-Fi or full coverage throughout the resort properties, and creating those smarter areas so that you have better coverage. I mean, we've had cell issues here, so wouldn't it be great if we had a bit of a smart city right here to be able to address that?
That's great. So thank you so very much for being here. Where can people find you? Anyone who's here in HITEC, and then if they weren't able to be in HITEC, where can they find you after that?
So here, our booth is at 1516, really easy. We're right across from the Venza booth. Our partners Venza are here. So we're totally unintended, but we're right across from them. And they've got the bright orange shirts, and we've got our blue. And so booth 1516. And then otherwise you can find us at TraknProtect.com. So that's TRAKN Protect.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here with us and enlighten us. And, the story that you told us, I just love that, the story of your organization. And then, I encourage everyone out there and all our hoteliers to truly start thinking about those things, those different benefits that we can bring to the table to our current team members, so that we can reduce a little bit of that turnover, and to those new candidates coming in from other industries that don't really know what they're facing. Let's start promoting products like TraknProtect, because that truly makes a difference. And like I said before, it does create that culture of care. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Wonderful.